Today we're going to be taking a look at Neir Automata. Now, if you don't know much about Neir Automata, it came out in about 2017, directed by Yoko Taro, this weird dude in the mask you're seeing right here. Does not like to be on camera, so he puts on a really based, cool, creepy-looking mask and does his thing. He's been around since the Drakengard series. He had created those, the first and the third game he created. He didn't do much on the second. But he did create the Drakengard series, and this is a part of the Neir series, which is a spin-off of that. I know it's a mouthful, and God, do I love a good mouthful. Now, one of the most interesting things I found about Yoko was when he was younger, he'd heard a story about people shopping and then a guy falling from the building and dying. If you want to go back, I got that from a Wikipedia article, and the reason this resonates with me is I had a moment very similar to this. I remember I was working at a grocery store, and this guy had had a heart attack or something in his front seat of his truck and was dead. I pulled him out of the car and I started CPR, and this lady comes running out, and she looked like Patrick Star running, just, I know CPR! I know CPR! And it's like, bitch, I'm already doing CPR on him, but whatever. So I let her, go in, and I just remember that moment in my head being so hilarious. Now, this man ended up dying a week later, and I did end up meeting his daughter, who hugged me, and if I wouldn't have started CPR, she would have never been able to say goodbye to her father on Christmas. It ended up being one of the most impactful moments of my entire life. And there's really two reasons for that. The one, that I had the impact on somebody's life and the greater understanding of humanity and relationships, but two, the humor that can come from chaos. Even if that chaos is caused by something as impactful as death, there are sometimes just very humorous elements in that. Now, looking at Yoko's past experience and what he has said in the past about violence and how we are so desensitized from it, I can see how that previous story can impact that thought process. You see humor in something as dark as death, well, you have to go back to the thinking of, well, maybe we're just so desensitized to it that the moment didn't hit us the way it should have. And he began to experiment with this idea, because what he had learned through Drakengard is in every game you really are going to be killing an enemy. That is going to be your goal. You're going to be ripping arms off and hitting him with it. It's just how games are made. And so he began to think, well, how do I make that more impactful? And his first real experiment with that idea was with the first Neir game, Neir Automata or whatever it's called. And that game wasn't really critically well received, much like his other games. They were said it was incredible storytelling, but the problem is, as much as he is a phenomenal writer, he never really had the understanding of how to make a great game. So when he decided to embark on Neir Automata, the studio that he was working for decided, hey, listen, you do good work with scripts. You know how to write, boy. You know what you're doing. But when it comes to combat, hey, maybe you need a little help. Maybe you need a little fucking reaching around. And I know exactly who's there to do it. It was Platinum Games, the creators of a bunch of great hack and slash games such as Bayonetta, which you've seen on the channel, and Metal Gear Rising. They were out there being the throat goat of creating great hack and slash games. So with the ideas of Yoko Taro and the assistance of a great development studio as Platinum Games, they embarked on this great adventure. And I have to say that this game truly encompasses that idea of the balance of humanity, the understanding of death, and making it impactful. Because this whole first opening section that you've seen playing in the background throughout me talking over rambling bullshit, you have to notice that I'm just killing constant things. I mainly am fighting that big robot, but you are going through flight sections and giant explosion sections and just things dying all over the place because you have an enemy, you have a goal. Kill these things that have taken over your world. You even end the big robot fight with offing yourself in a giant explosion, only to be rebuilt and re-put out into the earth, where you see the dissolution that this world has become. And the understanding in this world is that aliens had invaded, killed off mankind with their robot slaves, and now you're there to try to reclaim the Earth so that humanity can move back there. Now, eventually you will find out that a lot of this is a lie, but for the moment, that is your ideals, that is your objective. Bad guys, weapons of mass destruction, go take them out. And you go to accomplish that goal. But one of the very early missions here, I get down to the bottom of this hole, and there's just this person, or not person, this little robot rocking a baby. And I'm like, robots can't have babies. What's going on here? And then I just see a bunch of robots having an orgy at the bottom of this bitch. They're just piping each other out. No pun intended, they only have pipes. This whole moment for me was very impactful because when I went into the game not knowing his previous works and not playing anything he'd previously done, I had the mentality that I was just killing these mindless beings, and when I ran into this room where they're talking, where they're fucking, where they're trying to create new life because they don't fully understand humanity and they're trying to grasp at it, only for them to then turn on you and then go back to slaughtering them without trying to understand them completely, I finally know what he is going for. That there is levity to death. That there is moments where maybe your understanding isn't quite there and you should dive in a little bit deeper before just murdering everything. But it's a video game, so you have to kill. That is just part of it. And then it just goes on a little weird fucking page because they couldn't create humanity, but then they all gather around and just start fucking freaking out. And I was like, I'm so confused. I don't know what's going on. They're like climbing up buildings and shit and like creating a giant womb. That's exactly like it is creating a womb. That is exactly what you're seeing right now. It's a robotic womb. No pussy intended. Just fucking all you need is a bunch of robots. They'll glow yellow and eventually they will give birth to a person. That is just how logic works. And they never really fully they might explain how this is done. But it's kind of funny how throughout this game you'll run into robots who will create a small baby robot and then think it'll grow like a human, but then they actually create life in this one scenario. I don't know. This part, it's the only question I have throughout the entire game, throughout the entire campaign. It was the only hole in the story. Now, maybe you know what happened here, how they were able to accomplish that. Leave it in the comments below. Hit me with a like and subscribe when you're down there, or fucking dislike me. I don't care. But I just thought this is the one time in the game where I was like, a lot of suspension of disbelief to make this shit happen. I mean, it still is a very interesting way to introduce an antagonist, this being that is essentially a baby who, through his death, creates a brother, much like Adam and Eve, and there will be they're even named Adam and Eve. He is birthed from his rib, even though it's two men, instead of a man and a woman, much like it was in the Bible, but those overlays are constant throughout the game, and I really like the way they did that. Through the old scriptures of mankind, through what they believed, they're trying to understand this deeper meaning to life. Unlike the androids, who are supposed to be the harbinger of man, have no understanding of humanity whatsoever. And you will notice that throughout this entire game. Through the main characters. The main characters is 9S is the boy and 2B is the girl. And Adam and Eve are the villains in this first playthrough of the game. So, throughout 9S and 2B's exploration of this thing, they will have conversations. 9S is more of the sympathetic, soft-hearted robot, and 2B is more of the, I'm a fucking soldier, I'm here to get things done. But they still have questions about humanity that they have no idea about, which, again, is crazy considering they are the harbinger of man. Because after man was destroyed by the aliens and these robots uprose, the running theory with these androids is that they send information up from Earth to the moon, which is sent to where the humans are. And I think the humans are supposed to be on the moon or some shit. But the main thing of this game isn't where humanity is. It's about watching these robots who were created by these aliens start to rebuild humanity to the closest they can possibly get it there. One of the next early sections is this giant amusement park. And when I say that I felt the joys of childhood when I entered this, and just the happiness that is bred in this place was so amazing. I had those little like kid flutterflies or whatever. This area had somehow managed to encompass the innocence of childhood into a playable section of a game. It was truly remarkable. I have never seen anything like that. And that comes from genius. That's why I coated old Yoko in a bunch of seed before I started glazing. It was just like, I had a pre-bukkake before I glazed because this is gorgeous. This is what a great game is made of, is moments where the environment just puts on the player what it's supposed to feel, and you come to those realizations by yourself without it condescending to you, which is such a problem in modern gaming. And even during this time period in 2017, there was games coming out that were just going to tell you how much of a fucking piece of shit you were because you don't believe in the same ideals that the game wants you to believe in. This game makes you come to your own conclusions, and that's brilliant. Whether they're conclusions that you had not previously been akin to or whatever, and you still understand them. You come from a place of understanding. Even if you disagree with some of the themes in this game, you still come to the same place, and you're at a place of understanding, which is a great way to have these talking points. Because if you couldn't tell, one of the main themes in this game is the horrors of war and how senseless war can be. Now, you can think that sometimes war is necessary, and I'm on that same page where war can be a very necessary evil, but I can understand how you can be 100% against it. In this game, you can have that dialogue through this game, and you can come to the same understandings that, okay, maybe this is unnecessary to a small extent, but also necessary on another extent, and you have these understandings because the game helped you get there without pushing you there. You have these understandings through the environment, like this first big boss you fight here, this evil machine, quote unquote, isn't that evil, just got obsessed with beauty standards. And that's something that I find more cringe than anything else, is when people are complaining about beauty standards, but I understand this enemy. I understand where they're coming from. All it wants to be is beautiful for another robot. It wants to be noticed for its beauty. That it doesn't matter what it has to take down or who it has to destroy to get there. It has to get there. And that goes hand in hand with the modern day look of like the TikToks and the influencers of all these people that are like fakely beautiful in this world. You now have like the encompassing evil of what that can create, and you come to that understanding on your own accord without it forcing it down your throat. You can play this battle without ever seeing these themes and miss it, and that's fine, but the game gives you the choice to dive in a little deeper, and I appreciate that. That is something that is overlooked in good writing in today's media. Because there's nothing worse than a game having like an atrocious looking character and them sitting there pretending like they're not atrocious and that you're a bigot for thinking that they're ugly, or you're some sort of fucking misogynist or some piece of shit type of term that they'll throw on your lap and you expect you to just lop it up like the little good bitch you are. I appreciate when a game will touch on some of these bigger issues in a way that has some nuance to it, some intelligence, some integrity. I like that. And when you see things like they do this in this game, I appreciate where the writing's coming from, because it's never talking to me like I'm some sort of troglodyte, and it treats these issues with a bit of nuance, which is appreciated, instead of banging it over your head. That's the main point that I like to push out here right now. But getting on to the actual story at hand, I meet this robot that was waving a white flag on me, and it leads me down a path towards a town. Now, this town is led by a robot named Pascal. The thing about Pascal is she wants to teach her little community about humanity, about the emotions, about the great things that she has learned about throughout the books and the literature that humanity had left behind. She wants to truly embark on this mission to create emotion and love and fear and learn everything she can and instill it into her community, which has in turn become friends with the androids and even a trading outpost between the two. And it's this moment here where even the robots that I'd faced in the past were unlike this Colossus that invaded right after I talked to this town, the ones that I felt like were sort of going toward humanity were still evil machines in their core. I mean, the ones that were orgying at the bottom of the hill, slapping all sorts of electronics because they don't have a clit, they didn't quite understand the meaning of humanity, but it seems like Pascal is the closest one to it. She is a well-written, well-created character who's trying to understand the nuances of a society that is long gone. And even the androids themselves don't really understand that society. So it's this embark of learning what humans are and what happened to this previously gone land and what was so special about them. And the closest person to find out this feeling, I believe, is Pascal, because of what she's instilling onto the children, our robot children of the society. I don't know. It's just great. I just her character to me was like like a giant leading arrow to what humanity was, and you're learning through her, because at this point in the game, 9S and 2B do not like robots at all, and you're kind kind of on the same page, even though you're starting to see the cracks in the logic that has led to them surveying this area and this enemy that you thought was in your head. You were starting to see the cracks, but when you meet Pascal, you start to see that not everything is as it seems, and you shouldn't greet everything with hostility, that some things are maybe closer to you than you believe, which is, it has a theme that can stretch from race relations all the way down to political discussions. It's about finding a person and seeing them as a person and not as their beliefs, or seeing them as a person and not as their skin color or their religion or their sexual orientation. You can take this one meeting of this one robot who you had previous beliefs about, and now changes your mind, and see it go into different areas and different genres and different arguments, and you can find that common place that you see it as a person and not as a thing. And the fact that this game did this so brilliantly, and it does it throughout the entirety of this game without ever telling you it's doing it, is brilliant, because someone else, like I said, could be playing this game and got something completely freaking different from here. Maybe they're the type of loser that doesn't slap clit and just didn't want to hang out with Pascal because they're like, oh, you're not based, you're cringe, you're commie bastard, and then walked away. Not that Pascal said anything that was like communist related, but they still could have had that opinion, and they don't get any of the cool shit. And I know there's alerts going on screen because there's some more cool ass shit going on, but I thought these were interesting points to touch upon and expand into what a greater job this game did in the span of what it could do to create a narrative. Now let's talk about the shit going down on screen, or was going down on screen. You see, after those giant titans that I just fucking mopped up with my giant schlong-a-dong-dong, I decided I needed to go down and figure out what was in this giant hole, because we have discovered aliens. We're in Roscoe, baby. It's time to dig up some Starship. It's time to see where all the probing happened. We need to see what type of bumholes were investigated by these green species of intelligence. So I dive down into the giant hole made in the middle of the earth, because they're like the creatures from fucking Gears of War and just crawled their happy asses out of it. And I need to figure out what's going on. I want to learn what happened to humanity. That is the point of my mission. More than killing robots. The point is to figure out what happened to humanity, what is making these robots tick, and why is it happening. Well, what I find out is the robots kind of killed off the aliens, or the aliens died. I can't, this part I wasn't 100% sure on. You can tell me I'm wrong in the comments or whatever. But the aliens died, and basically the robots were left to fend for themselves. So they've just been kind of fucking confused for centuries, figuring out their own shit. Which leads to different towns like Pascal's, because now they're kind of imitating what was left for them to imitate on this Earth that they don't really understand, because before they were under a hive mind. But right around now is when we get some more info dumps, because anytime these two dickheads show up with their micro penises, they are there so you can learn a little bit more about what's the story's going on. Maybe if you haven't done some of these side quests, they can catch up on what some of the deeper lore is. Yeah, I don't know. They're interesting. They're more like the Winter Soldier in the Captain America movie for me, where I thought they were an antagonist, but they only show up sometimes. They're not like, there's something that is in the back of your mind, but isn't like hard packed on you. And they seem to be learning the same things you are in this task, but they're not held back by an organization, because you guys are under the Yosha project, or whatever it's called, Yohar project. I don't know. And they kind of are discovering this stuff at a much quicker pace. I mean, headed by Adam. Adam seems to be more the intellectual one, and Eve's just kind of the fucking, I'm aggressive and I'm an angry douchebag. Another point I want to emphasize, right, since I'm still in this room, is there are gorgeous aspects of this game. Absolutely gorgeous aspects, and I fucking love the art direction that they went for and how well they executed it. Because Yoko Taro has like ADHD in video game creation, and it has multiple different directions, always changing, and never ceases to be a gorgeous game. I mean, I did put this self-insertion section in the game just because I figured I'd bring him up right here. But you look at the atmosphere that this little room's created compared to the alien room. It's just green and luscious. And then you go from that from Alien to that to then you're exploring like a castle and it feels like you're back in like the 16th century, except for it's also got this like shonen Japanese anime style, and it builds its own thing by pulling from different cultures, and it's just gorgeous, and it's changing the gameplay's like where you look, and now you're playing it more as a side scroll platformer instead of like over the shoulder hack and slash, and this game can bounce between those two things seamlessly, which he always had a problem with before, but with the help of Platinum Games, he actually is able to create the ADHD riddled bullshit that he loves to create. And when I get to the end of this little area to see the king of this whole area and it's a baby, I'm like, what the actual fuck is going on, bro? These robots are on something wildin'. And then this fucking bitch just shows up who's way hotter than my main protagonist, and she's got some juicy cheeks, but this bitch's cheeks are extra juicy, and she doesn't even say anything. She talks, but she barely says enough to where you don't understand her. She just fucking murders this fucking thing, tells you the group that you're working for is lying to you, and then tries to kick your ass. It was so confusing. I had no idea who this chick was. Absolutely no idea what was going on. I was just getting some random stuff for a quest, and then this bitch is trying to kill me. I don't know you, bitch. Leave me alone. Why are you so mean to me? I mean, obviously, I had to beat a woman real quick because, dude, I'm giga-based. I'm a Sigma male. I beat women. Not really. I've never laid a hand on a woman, but making jokes about it is okay because humor is what brings light to the terrible things in the world. If you see a woman getting beaten, you probably should report it to the police for the safety of them or whatever. I honestly thought that this character right here was going to be a reoccurring character in the first playthrough of the game, much like I'm going to call them the twins, much like the twins are. But this is the only time you see her in the first part of the campaign. This is it. She's never brought up again until you play the game for the second time, and then you'll see her again. But there's really nothing else. She was just something to like throw off the vibe, fucking ruin all my vibes, bitch. Just fucking changing shit up on me, dropping a little bit of fucking lore nuggets on me, and some big truth bombs, and fucking Alex Jones information. We'll call the globalists. The globalists are trying to take us down. You guys are just gonna listen to all these cucks. Yeah, just dropping shit like that on me, and then just dipping the fuck out. Like, well, who the fuck do you think you are? But let's get to the combat real quick of the game. The combat, like I said, moves from different situations. You got your normal hack and slash situations, which is like most of the game is going to be hack and slash, but you also have different flight attacks things where you get into mech suits and you play as fucking what was that Atari game? The Atari game where you're fucking shooting Space Invaders. You're playing fucking Space Invaders in a bunch of these segments, and then all of a sudden you'll turn into a fucking a Gundam suit and just start beating some real ass. It's really cool. I really like a lot of the huge set pieces. I like the Gundam battles. I like just the hack and slash on the ground. It even has like times where your memory will be like tried to get hacked, and you get this cool little hacking mini game, which gets super tiring the second playthrough, because the second playthrough you play as 9S instead of 2B. 2B is the girl, just to refresh you on that, because the names are stupid as fuck in this game. That is one thing I do not like about this game. I get they're androids, I get they're gonna get numbers and letter orientations, but it's a little fucking cringe. I don't know. When you're trying to explain this game to somebody who hasn't played it, you end up being like, A2, 9B, and 9S, and AW are all going to do this, and then a 9S says this to 2B, and do you hear how confusing that fucking sounds? Do you hear how fucking annoying that is? And all these cool moments that I want to explain, like, 2B then gets on this giant rocket and shoots a fucking monster robot in its mouth, and the whole time 9S goes and fucking hacks the robot, and they're like, what are you saying? Why are you saying numbers and letters? It makes no sense. It's one of those things that kind of makes explaining this game to friends who might really enjoy it, who this game could be completely fucking for them, but trying to elaborate what these characters are with their stupid fucking names can literally eat your soul to its fucking dick. Like, I tried to explain what was going on to my wife a couple times, and it had zero Riz. It had no skibbity. It never went to Ohio to get the Riz, to Riz up Livy Dunn. It had none of that shit. It was bullshit trying to explain this game, and I feel like that is one of the biggest problems with the names in this game, and that is my only gripe so far. And that's more impressive than most of the time, because I can be a little spiteful bitch most of the time. I can get all up in my feelings about shit, and I'm actually very satisfied with everything else but the names, and I feel like that's pretty impressive. But around right here where I'm destroying this giant robot is we get separated. Me and fucking 9S. 9S goes to like fire up some rockets and do some cool shit, and I'm fighting it as a robot, and we get separated. So now I need to go find 2B. I mean a 9S. See the confusion? You see what I'm talking about in this bullshit? You see what's going on? Like, they could have named her Tight Pussy and Little Dweeb Boy, and it would have been better. And those are terrible names. I came up with those while shitting. Come on now. But yeah, you go to find your friend, and you end up in this, like, intermediate dimension where fucking Adam has tried to recreate humanity's like cities and stuff, and you're just dead androids everywhere. It is fucking gorgeous, dude. This area, again, me glazing over the screen over how fucking pretty these environments are, dude. These environments are so pretty, dude. I love it. I fucking love it. I'm fucking glazing. I liked that right at the end you get to see all these fucking box tumble and shit. Like, look at this motherfucker Minecrafting me into the boss arena. Look at him go. He can't handle to fight me in the whole city. No. He's got to Minecraft my ass in here. Oh no, I don't have enough of that Fortnite fucking building technology to face him. Especially when he can Fortnite a whole city in 5 seconds. But I need to beat him because I need my homie 9S back. And I don't give a shit who he is. I need my homie back. We don't leave one out to dry, boys. When we got a homie dying in the hood, we go into the hood and fight back, bro. We ain't no fucking with no Bloods, or we ain't fucking with no Crips. We take the fight to him, bro. So basically, I whoop his ass with his stupid fucking long hair and weird block gimmicks because he's a bitch. His mom's a bitch. He a baby bitch. He's sucking on titties still with his stupid fucking glasses. He looks like a weird ass bitch. Like, come on, man. Look, who wears leather pants like that? I actually used to own leather pants when I was a kid, right? I got all these because my great grandfather was like a biker, like not like a fucking Sons of Anarchy biker, but he was like a motorcycle enthusiast. And so I like when I was in high school and I was smaller, I could fit in all the old hand-me-down stuff, and I had a pair of leather pants, bro. I looked sick as fuck, but they weren't tight like that. They were like the normal I kick ass in cowboy boots leather pants. Not like this guy who looks like a dweeb. You look like a dweeb, bro. You look like an anime dweeb. And I'm glad that I whooped your ass. I'm glad that... Because look what he did to my boy. Look at my poor boy up there. My sweet little man. He's all sorts of messed up. They got like gnarly shit stabbing through him. And this is where these first two people that are kind of helping you understand the world around you and understand the nuances of the story, they come in with more of a hammer type mentality to beat you over the head with what's going on. Not like condescendingly, but they're there to give you some information of how you can take the society and go wrong, if that makes sense. I don't know if I'm fully elaborating the point. They're just a very angry mentality of what you can take from this world. Instead of an approach like Pascal's, which is a very nuanced and safe take, they're a very angry and fucking Antifa, I'm gonna throw ice water bottles at ICE agents type of mentality. They're the bull through the china shop type shit. And yes, violence begets violence, and we started their life off with trying to murder them and ended his life by murdering him and caused violence throughout his entire life. So I understand his mentality and his angst against the world, or light angst, because he was willing to die to further the information of the world, if that makes sense. It is pretty poetic how they did this. It's just, if you go in with the only answer to the problem being a hammer, all your problems are nails, and that's not how the world works. Unless you're the ATF. Shout out Waco and Ruby Ridge. Another thing, though, that you kind of get a highlight of in this situation, and you kind of see tidbits of it throughout this story, is the relationship being built between 9S and 2B. Because they're going from just being these machines with a job to people who truly care about each other, and that's pretty cool. I mean, you also get that when 2B is in the hospital here, you go into a quest with Pascal, and you get this building with relationships with you and Pascal, because Pascal wants the world to be a better place. Pascal just wants people to be happy, like her little community, and you go on this wild adventure through this this giant fucking factory or whatever it is. I don't know. It's like a facility. It's where you started the game off too. It's one of the few times you run back to an area you've already been. Actually, you do that a lot because it's an open world game. But this time you go back and there's just this cult of robots. It's like Jim Jones ass shit. Maybe another shout out to Waco. Waco wasn't really like Jim Jones, but it's a cult, so close enough. Not really. A lot of different psychological differences between that. I mean, I'm not the guy to do it. Go watch Wendigoon or something for that shit. But yeah, there's this whole ass cult here, and they're like a suicide cult, so actually closer to Jim Jones, like I said originally. I just shouted out Waco earlier, and it's just in my head, baby. I got Waco on my mind. But yeah, it's like a Jim Jones ass cult where they're just wanting to kill themselves to like ascend to a higher power, because they have they must have unearthed the Communist Manifesto in the Bible at the same time, this group of robots, and they were like, oh, communism, must kill yourselves. That's what Jim Jones was about. If you didn't know that, Jim Jones was like a socialist that was like, the Bible and socialism go hand in hand, and if they don't go hand in hand, I gotta kill myself because the government's trying to kill me. It was confusing. It's not really confusing, it's pretty cut and dry. They didn't actually drink Kool-Aid, they drank Flavor Aid. Fucking get learned, punks. This section, though, really does hanker in the idea that there is humor in death, because these goofy-ass machines are just killing themselves, jumping into lava, and the machines that you're killing in this game are kind of adorable to begin with. So, throughout this whole section with them killing themselves and, swinging these lanterns up, it is hilarious. It is funny in, a weird, dark sort of way. It's just like how the Jim Jones thing, as horrible of an atrocity as it is, the fact they did it with Flavor Aid, or we'll call it Kool-Aid, whatever, at this point you drink the Kool-Aid, it's a meme now, but that's the point, that there's humor in that. And it shouldn't be funny, but it is. And you have this sense of fucked up mentality because you're laughing at this awfulness that's going on. And I don't know, it's just something that really resonates with me personally, because like I said, I have an experience where I was in a very uncomfortable situation, and then there was just one goofy bitch that made me think, everything's gonna be okay, I guess. The world is this way. It's just how the world works. It's weird. It's a weird fucking situation that we live in, and how humanity's mind works, how we can see atrocities but also see humor in it. And that's the dark side of comedy, and that's why comedy is such a precious thing that we can't force to be one way, and is offended by anything I might say at any time, whether I say clit or bitch or whatever. You have to understand that I'm also bringing light to a lot of these things, and that's kind of what this game is bringing a light to how messed up these cults and these suicide rituals can be, but also showing it in a kind of lighthearted, funny way. I like that. I don't know. I'm just a big fan of nuance like that. Especially when this game never goes out of its way to say religion is bad, right? Religion in this game plays a pretty heavy hand when it comes to Adam and Eve, and some of the good parts of religion. It also shows some of the bad, and that's how things have to do it. I mean, a lot of times you'll play something, again, I'm going to do in the modern gaming era thing, hands in the air waving bullshit, where if the modern game brings up religion, it's in a very bad light, and they're trying to shit on it, and then it's almost like you get a speech. It almost feels like they need to sit you down and tell you how believing in anything religious makes you a bad person. And it's something that there's this combination of, they want to tell you how bad religion is to get social points but not explain why. And the thing that pisses me off is there's nothing inherently bad about religion. There's some real great in it, but there's also bad, like there is with anything. I mean, shit, look at Boogie2988. He drinks soda too much. Is soda delicious and okay in moderation? Absolutely. absolutely, but you shouldn't fucking abuse it. Otherwise, you'll have a fucking blood pressure of like 1,000,000/10 and then be dying. Everything in moderation is a good thing, and I feel like I learned that from this little section. Even though I already had that pre-existent mentality, it's just nice to see a game say that without shitting on one of the things to build its point. It's difficult to find that line, and this game did it very well and added some humor into it. After this, though, is where the game's final act starts pushing forward. At least you think it's the final act. Haha, hints, or nudge, nudge, wink, wink, touch your dick, slap my clit. Moving on, the brother of Adam, Eve, is all sorts of pissed that his brother's dead, so he's bringing the fight to you and 9S. See, again, mixing up names. A very, very poor choice in naming in this game. Only two names I like is Adam and Eve, and that's not because I'm super religious or anything, but just because they're actual fucking names. But you get this end-all be-all battle where you're trying to stop him so you can protect everyone else in this area, and it's just this huge knockdown drag-out, and it's sick, and he looks cool. He's bouncing all over the arena. The boss fights in this game are very fun. Now, I did play this game on easy, and if you're gonna shit on me for that, I don't give a fuck, because by the time I finish this game, which I will get to why this game is kind of a challenging gauntlet to get through, it's not about how hard the game is, it's about how long this game is. And I got more fucking rare achievements than I have probably ever gotten on a game, so me playing on an easy is better than 90% of the people who played this game. Suck a clit, eat a dick, I'm better than you. But the boss fights in this game are insanely fun, great spectacles. This one was probably top tier. You had fucking 2B coming in, 9S coming in and just fucking tearing shit up alongside you. You guys were rallying together, and it goes to the relationship that's been built between these two, the love they have for each other, where they can work so well hand in hand together, because this time they don't want it to end like every other time previously. They want to persevere. They want to be better than the last time that they fought together, and you feel the tension, you feel the triumph in this area, in this giant spectacle of a boss fight. It's sick. I fucking love it. I mean, just look at him doing laser stuff. Another thing this game has really cool going for it is the bullet storm type thing, where it's got these big fucking orbs heading at you, where it differentiates itself from just a traditional hack and slash. I haven't mentioned it full on, but I have mentioned how this game thinks it's 75 other games in one. So, again, this game just thinks it's so many cool things, and you're never really bored because of that fact, and that is something to fucking tip my penis to you for, sir, because it's built for somebody like me. It's like Doom Eternal and Shadow Warrior 3, where I'm just bouncing around doing cool shit because the game's keeping me on my toes. But after a hard relenting battle, you do finally bring this man to his knees, who has been fully consumed by rage for the loss of his brother, and it's almost like you finally did it. It's over. You finally accomplished the main problem of the game. Yet, in your mind, in this moment, you know that there's still tons of questions unanswered. What's going on? Why are we here? Why are the machines acting so human? You've gotten pieces to this information, but you haven't gotten the full picture. It's like the puzzle is only a third done. There's something you're missing, but you're distracted from these questions quick enough to start seeing 9S start to fully what you think is go evil. And it's like he's getting taken over by something. And you knowing that if his mind goes bad, he is the tech side of you. He is the one with all the information. That this could cause ripples to the world. You know you have to kill him in this moment. And this is heartbreaking. Because like I said, one of the biggest things that Impact shows about the humanity and the grind to what being human is seeing the relationship between 9S and 2B. And they're built of a love and almost a symbiotic sibling type relationship is being built here, and to have to murder your own brother is just so powerful. And seeing a very stoic character break down in this moment like 2B does brings out an emotional response from the player, and I think it's gorgeous and powerful, and it's sad. It sucks to be in this situation as 2B killing 9S. It's just something that where their humanity has built to this point, and they don't want to lose each other again, because if they don't re-upload their memories to the main hub, when they're brought back in their new bodies, they won't remember the trials and tribulations they've been with. But something magical happens in this moment. Before he dies, he uploads himself to all the machines around him so that his good memories can live, and the virus or whatever can die. Is so cool. It's such a like this moment here where she finally knows that her brother isn't truly dead, and is able to speak with him after she thinks she has lost him forever, is just such a beautiful and empowering moment, especially with a character that is so empowering like 2B is. I mean, one of the things that I love about 2B's character is, one, she's fucking hot. I mean, those ass cheeks under when she's climbing up ladders and stuff, woo-wee poppy. But also, she's a very strong, independent character, without ever having to tell you how strong and independent she is, which is an incredible thing to do, again, in this modern era. But after you beat this game, you have to then fire the game up and play it a second time. Oh, you thought the video was over. You thought I was done. Not even fucking close, bucko. Because you fire it up and you start playing as a little robot at the beginning of your second playthrough, which is crazy because you're like, wait, I thought I was just playing through the game again. No. You're not playing through the same game again. You're playing as a robot who's bringing oil to his brother. And this is a very interesting scene because this is taking place on your second playthrough. You play as 9S through the entire campaign to see things from his perspective. So at this point in this game, they don't understand the nuances in the how deep these robots' characters actually go. They think of them as mindless machines. So when he's bringing oil to his dead brother, it means nothing to him. He's like, this is silly. Why are these robots doing fucking goofy shit? It doesn't matter to you. This second playthrough, you get a little bit more information. Playing from 9S's perspective, you get to kind of see the inner workings, and you unlayer some of the deeper shit that's going on, which I appreciate. But for the most part, this is basically the same playthrough just over again. In fact, I'm going to speed this shit up to 3 times so we can really get through it, and I'm just going to kind of run through what you learn. 9S is more of the technical side of things. He is more the computer-oriented thing, so his gameplay changes pretty drastically from 2B. See, 2B was a more of a military style android, and 9S was more made for recon. So his ability for his like strong attack, which is Y on Xbox or triangle on PlayStation, is actually hacking, unlike 2B's was just a strong attack. So when you get your enemy to a certain level after you've hit Y enough, you then have to go into this hacking mini game, which breaks off a good piece of health. Do you enjoy this mechanic? I don't love it though. It's not like I don't like it. It just kind of becomes a little tedious how it breaks up when you're in like a really good hack and slash moment, and then all of a sudden you're doing fucking weird hacking minigame. It gets a little weird. Another thing that you really get from this playthrough, which you'll see in the background, is a lot of like different cutscenes you haven't seen. Is one of the big things that this playthrough does is add more context to things you've gone through, such as your fight with the giant robot chick who didn't think she was beautiful enough. The reason for that is there's another robot who thinks nothing is ever good enough for him because he's fucking awesome, so he just keeps telling her she's not pretty enough, so she keeps going out of her way and getting crazier, which kind of goes into the themes, like I said, where a lesser game would have just been like, all men are dickheads, and this game's like, no, this particular guy was a dickhead, and it led this woman to look for gratification where she couldn't find it, and that's pretty cool. Another thing you find out as 9S is he hacks into the servers of your main organization and finds out that aliens didn't try to kill off humanity, that humanity was already dead due to their own actions way before the aliens ever showed up. Basically, the androids are on this vicious cycle of repeating the same thing over and over again. It's to this idea that they're on this endless cycle of where they're sending information up to the moon that goes nowhere, that's just a fucking server that no one's there, and you, every time you figure this out, then 2B then kills you because of how the situation goes, and it just repeats itself over and over again. And that's what the androids have been doing for centuries now. It's insane. And the only difference in this time is that 9S then moves his memory to a different location, and that's what starts to add this ripple effect through all machines because they are breaking the status quo. It is insane, and because of all this information pouring out, they then mobilize to put an attack on the machines because a virus is now spreading through them. You might have saved 9S's memories, but the damage it has caused has put something wrong into all these machines, causing them to go evil. And because there's deeper workings at hand, because you were never supposed to break out of this cycle. It is an insane realization at the end of this game that leads to this, which jumps you into your third playthrough. Yes, you heard me right. You have to play through this fucking game 3 different times to actually get the whole story. In the first 2 games, though being very similar, the second game giving you that extra context, which leads you to an understanding of what is happening here in the third playthrough. In the third playthrough is actually the second half of the first playthrough, which is insane because no one would ever think, oh, I beat the game. Well, now let me play it 2 more times. But y'all better hold tight because this shit gets wild. So when your wife puts that strap on, tell her later, babe, because it's time to get real. So here's what happens. Basically, 9S and 2B go down to the world to take out all these robots that have been infected with this hive mind mentality. Only the other androids then get infected too, leading one of the androids that do get infected to be 2B. Fuck, that is a stupid name. So basically, even though 9S had cured 2B earlier of her mind aids, the rest of Yorha has completely gone bad. I mean, the whole area, they're all corrupted, they're all evil now, and you and 2B and 9S get separated. Only now, 2B is starting to feel the infection yet again, which leads her to run into A2. Yes, that girl from earlier who killed the robot baby. She is back. And you have no ability to fight, so you know it is time for you to die. 2B has made it as far as she can, so she transfers her memories to her sword and tells A2 to basically kill her, with her last wish being to protect the innocents inside of 9S. Only problem with this is 9S is standing on the bridge watching his best friend, his sister, die, igniting a rage inside of him, causing him to kind of turn evil. Insane developments, so much shit is going on, and not only that, but the world is changing as they know it as well because of the fact that they are not sitting in the status quo that has been built upon by the millions or thousands of years previously, where they are stuck on this constant loop of fighting and dying and never truly changing anything due to this evil computer program that is sitting underneath their noses for the whole world to see. If you're brave enough and if you're strong enough to actually dive in and see it. And that's when this huge structure is popping out of the ground, because it's time that this is over. Game has been pushed far enough, and this structure is a giant cannon that is supposed to either fire all the information up to the moon or destroy the moon itself. Basically, it's a robot version of the Earth's penis, and it's about to fucking cream pie the moon to death, and that's like something that's going on. There's a lot of the side stuff in here that was like a plot that was created for this secondary area that is good. It is very well done. It's going along. But the real thing that matters to me is A2's story. She is the new bitch. And she meets Pascal, and she goes through a lot of the same like talking points and beats the same drum, you know, beating that meat hard until you jizz right on the clit. Typical stuff. But the thing that's great about her is she's almost like an edgier version of 2B, which is funny that they're both 2 something, like one's A2 and one's 2B. No, that's not very funny, King Jiffy. That's not hilarious at all. Well, go suck my wiener. I don't give a shit about you. Go fucking punch yourself in the face. I don't cause self-harm. I'm joking. I'm being overly hyper-dramatic. One thing that I do also like about hers is because she's going through the same beats and learning the same things, you're getting to see kind of a speed run version of what the 2 campaigns have led you through. So it like builds this emotional response. You're getting all fucking needy. And another thing they do is they use the environments to kind trying to tell this, how it, like, you go to the amusement park, like I'm right here in the amusement park, and all the robots are like zombies and fucking juiced out of their mind. They're on too much trend, dog. They've been hitting up that trend, and they just taking all sorts of amphetamines and stuff, all fucked up. And it's sad to see a place of such happiness, such like, it's like looking at San Francisco in the 90s when everything was like The Princess Bride, or what was that movie with Anne Hathaway where she was like the Princess Diary. It's like the Princess Diary, seeing San Francisco all happy with their trolley cars, and then you go to it now and it's just like homeless people sucking each other off while they take dumps in the middle of the street. That's kind of what going back to this area feels like. And then you go and check out your village of nice robots, and they just are getting like ham blasted by all sorts of evil. They're like that meme with the one white chick and the guys around her. You know she's gonna get destroyed in that section. You know she's gonna have to take a month off and at least a week in a wheelchair. But this is kind of how I feel when I get to this. It's like beating you down with depression. It's like everything's sad, everything's morbid. You're seeing this world that you've grown to love just get destroyed, and it's beating into A2 that these are more than just machines. These are people, which leads you to this moment with the help of Pascal, who you've befriended, just like the other androids, to protect the children of her village. And you go and Pascal becomes this giant, like, super robot, which is sick, by the way. There's like, you're like smashing endless ships. It's a little slow paced compared to all the other combat, but I mean, the spectacle of it, come on, man. This is like a Bukkake facial type moment. Yeah, does it get a little played out after like the third dick comes? Of course, but you're gonna stay there till the 50th does its job when she doesn't even look like a person anymore. I'm gonna get so much fucking hate for everything I say. I don't care. But if I get thousands of views on this video, I will even be surprised. But the moments here where you get to fight a giant mech fight, come on, dude. Come on. Like, this is some Gundam ass energy. This is some Attack on Titan ass energy, and I live for that shit. I fucking eat that shit up like I do a nice, good, happy pussy. Not like an angry, smelly one, but a happy one. I want to eat it all day. I want to just drink it up and juice it up and make me happy. Num 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 num. I'm a good boy. That was so fucking cringe. Anti-Riz. I need to take a trip to Ohio right now, and now I'm even being worse. So you're probably sitting there just like Kurt Cobain in your mind, and don't Kurt Cobain in your mind. Be a good boy and don't do that. Or girl. I do have a very small feminine audience. But after you defeat the enemy at your doorstep with Pascal, it's time to go check on the children. And she's worried about them. She has cultivated this society because like the robots have been progressing through thousands of years, and the androids have been constantly showing up and killing each other for like ever. So she has had one thing in her life constant, but she has taught them fear. And because of the fear that they have experienced through this whole invasion, they all unalived themselves. They pulled a Kurt Cobain microphone and, well, I guess they stabbed themselves in the chest. They don't Kurt Cobain, but they ended it all, dude. And that's not based. That's cringe. It's the most selfish thing ever. And to give in to fear like that makes me so sad. And on top of this, dude, one, Pascal was already one of my favorite characters. Beloved this character. And this ate me alive. I was like, legitimately emotioning. I had emotion. The shit hit me. And after this, you hack into Pascal and go and delete her memories and emotions. And like, each time you delete one of these things, you get like a flashback through the campaign and these moments with these kids, and it's impactful, it's sad, and it shows that sometimes the battles that you fight have unexpected consequences, that you sometimes have unexpected casualties through the fear and the horrors of the war itself that lead to things like this. And it's just fucked. It is absolutely it's fucked. It's sad. It's fucked. It's gross. It's horrible. I don't know how to like emphasize how fucked this was. And I know I've said that a million times. But it was such a sad moment. And after this, you go to the village that Pascal had cultivated in this safe harmony. It was a happy place. And Pascal doesn't even know who she is anymore. And that hurts, man. That like killed me. when I first met Pascal, I had this whole thing where I was going to make jokes about, like, putting Pedro Pascal's face over the robot. And fuck that, dude. This thing needs to stand on its own. That's why there's not as much big editing in this video, because I feel like the scenes are impactful enough to do it. And right after this, the game kind of pushes you to play as a 9S, and you're awoken by these two red-headed androids, which is weird because, like, one, they stick out like a sore thumb. But on top of that, their characters are widely impressive too. See, this game did something here to really harp down the themes of the game harder in this last half. Like, these two androids were actually a part of what ended humanity. You see, humans had created an artificially intelligent group called androids. Obviously, you're a part of an android as well, but you are the second run. You were an answer to stop the first android invasion. But the first step toward those were these androids. These androids were a step toward that, like, stopping all androids, and they built two of them so that these androids wouldn't feel as isolated and alone, which caused their rage against humans because they felt like they were being used. It's like a metaphor for slavery. Obviously, most robot shit, it always starts with slavery and then they kill their owners. But basically, the androids had created other androids that then ended up killing all of them, and the last two androids that remained were these two that humans had created so that they could have, this guy had created these two androids so that they could have somebody, so that they were never alone, so they had somebody to rely on. And through all the chaos of all the wars, when the new androids had won, they had these other two androids that, because they weren't evil, they had wiped their memory and made them think that they were these pieces of shit that deserved to be like lesser humans. And it's fucked. Just like you don't get a lot of information on them until a like lore dumps on you and gives you the information behind them. But Jesus Christ, man, this game, and every time, like I said, 9S isn't my favorite character to play as in this game, not because he's bad per se, but because the hacking gets a little annoying. But to watch the emotional roller coaster of him dealing with the grief and this unanswered rage inside of him, which I would feel if my wife or one of my best friends died, or my sister died in like some sort of like murder, I would be enraged. I would want the killer strung up and ripped apart. That's how I would feel. I understand that rage, but it's about how do you deal with it and how do you try to figure out what's actually going on. But he's too blind to see the truth, which rage will do that to a person. Rage will make you think like illogical scenarios, especially if you see the atrocities that have become you. I mean, the fact that he is fighting his own psyche while fighting this new incoming enemy is just so remarkable. And talk about enemy variety in this section. This last half of the game really changes what you're used to. Like, I'm fighting like a dinosaur robot here. The shit gets wild. I really have to say that the combat really steps up in this later section, bouncing between the two different characters. You get a lot more variety due to the androids being infected with the robot aids. All sorts of crazy shit's going on. You have this hive mind that's been like, is controlling all of these people through the robot aids, and you're trying to figure out how to stop this tower from either you want it to destroy the moon or you don't, because there's two conflicting stories. A2 believes that by destroying it you will finally free the entire planet of the tyranny that is this robot, and then 9S wants to preserve it because of the memories of him and A2. God, is it just so much like things going on. It was so hard for me to like think how I was gonna make this video and like talk about all this stuff without getting too rambly, but it's impossible for me because I'm a rambly type of motherfucker. And the fact that one of the like funniest entertaining characters is like the one lady that talks to you. She's like the operator or your like correspondent throughout the whole thing, and then you have to kill her. And it just like accompanies how 9S is having to like deal with all of his friends dying around him, and how he has to be the villain because they are like completely taken over by this virus. And even if he hacks them, eventually it will still impede their mind and ruin who they were, and they will forget it and become this hollow shell of a fucking killbot. And the only person who's not like that is A2, and because of his rage, he will never be able to understand what's truly going on. It's so fucking poetic. It's just so it's immaculate, and it's crazy that I have like story achievements for this game that are in like rare or super rare, where I'm like 10% of the people who did it. And I don't understand how people could have finished the first playthrough of this game and been like, yeah, well, I'm done. I don't need any answers. I'm done. Because I'm not gonna lie, I had so many questions and so many unanswered, inquiries about the rest of this game when I finished the first playthrough. I was like, what the fuck? That's it? And I went online and actually looked up this game, and it said, well, you gotta play it 3 times. And I'm like, well, that's fucking cringe. I don't want to do that. That seems like the opposite of what I want to do. And, I played through the second playthrough. It was much faster than the first. And then when I jumped into this third one, it was just like great information, fucking character building out the wazoo. I mean, we were fucking fudge packing information into this game here. And like the character beats are so insane. Third playthrough of this game is truly better than the first 2, hands down. I will argue that with anybody any day of the week. I mean, even every single character that they added to this third playthrough seemed to be so impactful, and a lot of them, not the 2 redheads that end up helping you out here in this situation, but like there's these little twin girls that are like embodiments of the evil computer system that is the main actual antagonist of the game that you don't know about, kind of pop up through the second playthrough in weird little places because they're watching you, they're observing you. Are you going to the questions that they don't want you to find? And I like that. And even these 2 characters, what I was saying about them before, they come to help you here, because in their minds, because they've been programmed this way by the new androids, they think that they're worthless scum. They don't know why they're worthless scum, but they have been programmed to think that they are bottom dweller, foot-loving, creep, incel weirdos, and they don't understand why, but they're willing to do anything they can to protect you, because deep down they are still the people that they will have always been and always will be, and they're not beholden to just themselves. They're beholden to each other and their willingness to be better, and I find that just so inspiring. And one of the most impactful, insane moments from this whole section here, when one of the sisters starts sacrificing herself by touching the lock and getting all fucking tased, and not the type of vibrations that women usually like, bzz, bzz, but the kind that are like gonna screw and fry up your brain. They're doing it because they want to atone for the sins that they never committed in the first place. And just the irony in that, but also the horrors in it at the same time, are just so crucial to the themes that go all the way back to what I said at the beginning of the video about the humor in atrocity, the horrors in the impact of violence and how we're desensitized in it. And I think the best way to do this was little moments like this, because after the game relinquishes control from 9S and puts you back into 2A, you run back into this temple to chase after him, and the twins stop you and ask you if they did okay, if they did good, and you're like, yes, you're a good boy, and you feel it inside, man. You feeling them fucking emotions, and it hurts, dude. And like right here too, what you're seeing on screen in front of you right now, IRL, in the moment, it's watching poor 9S break down as he's surrounded by the person who meant the absolute world to him. Only it isn't really her. You see, this is a Fortnite skin, baby. They're improv dancing right on her happy ass grave, and he knows it because the silly evil computer system input code of fucking digital numbers is just flaunting the fact that he has led, or she, they're little girls but they talk like a man, they have led you to this horrific situation, and it just is torturing this poor man's mind. God, is this fucking poetic, baby. Man, my nipples are hard. I could cut diamonds. Man, I should be a jeweler with how my nipples are right now. This is the type of stuff that makes for an impactful story, that makes for something that is legendary, something that I will look at anyone and they're like, I haven't played Neir Automata. Well, you better fucking go home, get naked, and play Neir Automata. And they're like, why do I have to get naked? And it's like, because I have cameras in your house. And it's just so beautiful to me, though, to really look at 9S as a character, how he went from very tactical and forward thinking and a kind of a voice of reason to being this just ball of rage and completely a lost, broken individual. I find that so powerful. And during this whole section, at the same time, it'll switch you back to A2, who is looking at this whole situation very departed from it. Yes, she has seen what has happened to Pascal. Yes, she's kind of seen the puzzle pieces that have led up to where we're at, but she is still very much an outsider. But she's dealing with the actual computer program itself, and this was the greatest hacking moment in this entire game. This was so sick. The whole point of this was to avoid the little creepy girls so that they can, like, eventually override the system, leading it to then become at odds with itself, because should it destroy the info on the moon, the android's repetitive cycle of war will end with the robots. But if it doesn't, well, then the cycle will continue, because as you've kind of figured out throughout this game, what happens is the cycle kind of reboots itself and they do the same thing over. Now, the world does change along that way. It's not like it reverses time or anything, but as the Project Yorha is, it just starts over again, and these robots kind of solution was to destroy this or to send the information up. It was just kind of both ideas, and now there were two sides of the AI, and because of how we overflooded the system, they no longer can agree on what the correct solution is. Do they destroy the base on the Earth or let it be? And so they kill each other in this argument. Talk about insane. Talk about how the AI was already pretty creepy, and the fact that AI is going to take us over any day now. It's not like we're already having to shut down AI servers because they keep coming up with the same solution: kill humans. But after this, we start trying to catch back up with 9S, because we have to fight off the remnants of what this AI had caused, the remnants of this virus, this robot AIDS that is spread through the bum holes of every single species, quote unquote, in this sector. And as you fight through, it's so cool because it switches you from A2's perspective into 9S's perspective, and one's doing flight combat and the other's on the ground combat, which and 9S is way better with flight combat, because you can use hacking and you can use all the weapons that you normally can use in flight combat, only this time, instead of like a slash, you can use hacking as well. And I just really liked this section. I think it's probably one of the best boss fights in gaming that I have really messed with. Now, at first, I wasn't really sure if I was fighting the same robot or not. It kind of gives you the theme that when you knock the one robot down as A2, it then falls over to 9S. But they're two different robots. I don't know why I felt like I needed to explain that to you, but I just I just did. I was pretty stupid. I went into this pretty dumb for that thinking. I didn't have that mindset for very long, but there was that moment where I was like, oh, I think these are actually two fucking giant ball bots. Fucking, it's a sack. It's a ball sack. They're robot ball sack. It's just like Conker's Bad Fur Day, baby. We gotta grab those balls and squeeze them tight and mash them down. We can then get this great meeting with both 9S and A2, where they have a unified goal that they have to accomplish, so they put their differences aside to fight the giant robot ball sacks with arms. I did like that. I like that in all media. It's just something that I've always enjoyed when two opposing forces, even though A2 really doesn't have any reason or any animosity toward 9S. 9S is fucking on rage mode right now, and he wants to kill the shit of A2. And yet these two titular opposing forces are joining sides to knock this metal nutsack out of the sky, and that is admirable. Now, after this whole giant boss fight's done, where you're switching between the two characters, doing some hacking, doing some slashing, and that I like the way that happened, hack and slash, but this time you're actually fucking hacking. I just realized how that works. Damn, do I have the tism sometimes. Jesus. Oh man, wow, way to be dumb, Jeffrey. But yeah, after you beat this, you kind of get where you can get to multiple different other endings in the story. Because as you can tell, there's going to be a giant conflict resulting from this. And what the game decides to do is say, hey there, jabroni, choose a side. So I choose A2 because I just have felt in this moment that 9S was too far gone, that he wasn't who I came to care about throughout the first half of the game, and I'm considering the first two playthroughs the first half of the game. He is now this empty void of anger and hopelessness, utter and empty hopelessness. He doesn't care, he's gone, he is not the person we've come to love. He has literally got so bad that he's getting infected by the machine aids due to his own unwillingness to see the truth of what is going on. And that to me meant that I had to do something. I had to step in. I wanted to save him the best I could. And I knew A2, though stoic, which I do appreciate how both women characters are very stoic, non-emotional characters, because this game could have taken an easy way out and made one of them be the typical anime emotional girl, but it didn't do that, and I feel like that sends a better message, especially when we talk to writing well-done women. This feels more like a Ridley Scott-esque character, and at the end of the day, the part that I liked about this is she didn't want to kill 9S. She truly wants to save him, to honor what she had told 2B when she had to stab 2B, that she wanted to protect the innocence inside of 9S, and you feel that more in this fight. If I can say one thing to all of you out there, when you beat this game, you'll get a chapter select, because you will finally have beaten the whole game after you've done the third fucking playthrough, and then you can see the other endings. I encourage you highly to play this ending first. This ending is very, very emotional, very impactful. It shows A2's development as a character, and how she went from just this angry android who had to deal with this stupid pod that now wouldn't leave her alone, to becoming friends with the pods, because that's something I haven't really dived into throughout this. The pods that follow you around and act as your canon are actually also their own being, and they talk to you throughout the game. They have their own personalities, and through the second and third playthrough, those personalities really start to develop, and the relationship between A2 and hers has really grown. And throughout this hacking scenario, where you're hacking into 9S's mind after you beat him to try to preserve him, to finally fulfill the wish that 2B truly had for her best friend, and you finally understand the emotional impact of these moments as A2 is finding out this for herself. And I find that so remarkably powerful. This is, to me, the most powerful ending. I know that it is not the canon ending, it is not the real ending, because, I mean, well, if they decided to play off of this and make another game off of the spinoff like how this series was created, then maybe it could be a canon ending. But this was my favorite ending right here, just watching A2 sacrifice herself for what she thought was the betterment of society by ending the memories of all androids and leaving 9S with the full memories of everything to really create a better universe. And that's kind of what I got out of it. There are some more deeper layers that you can get from this, and there's whole channels built on the deep diving of the lore of this, but I just felt this was such a beautiful self-sacrificing moment, even if it doesn't fully solve all the issues in the universe. Now let's get to the other ending. Now, I like I said, there is a chapter select after you beat the game, and I played as A2 originally, and I thought that there was a secret ending. I'd been seeing that online when I researched how many times I was supposed to play the game. Well, according to the like wikis and all the bullshit, the way to get the secret ending is you have to play as 9S. So I played as 9S, fucking mollywopped A2, and this ending is fucked. This is just dark. If you wanted to end this game on this ending, Jesus, you are a monster, and you just don't like to see anything happy. This is what happens. They both bleed out on the ground. He becomes the encompassment of his rage and the consequences of his actions, and they both lay there dead on the ground. Game over. What the actual titty fucking Christ just happened? Wow. And then the credits start to roll, but the pods start to talk during this credits. And one pod decides that he does not like the way this ends, and he needs to change it. So then you get the most interesting thing a game has ever done, in my opinion. You get the secret ending. The secret ending consists of you fighting the credits so that the game does not end. I have never seen something this imaginative in my life. This is remarkable. Is this the most difficult bullet hell thing I've ever done? Probably. This is hell. To be frank with you, I would have not gotten close to defeating this section if there wasn't checkpoints throughout the entirety of fighting these credits. This is the hardest thing I've ever had to do in a bullet hell type game. I played this so intensely that I got a cramp in the palm of my goddamn hand. And after this, during this, you literally get asked, do you want to help another player through this? If you do, you have to delete your save file. And I looked up thinking the game was gonna joke with me, but luckily I looked it up because this game will fucking delete your save file. What kind of sadistic shit is that? There is a point in this where it asks you for help as well, like if you want help without deleting your save file, luckily. And to this, I have to say you should say yes, because look how many bullets I have. Jesus, man, look at these bullets. The whole screen when I was playing this is just colors, dude. Just so many colors. It's like spotting before you start that great red flow. It's just so much colors on screen. I could not handle it. There was points before I became like the god of shooting because of the help from the developers, and that's what it's kind of coded as, is the developers want to help you out. This is literally like I couldn't even see where my little guy was that was shooting because there was so much going on. My eyes were going cross-eyed, and I really don't even have the ability to cross my eyes. I used to have one of those pictures in my room that where you cross your eyes, you can see the thing behind all the colors. I was never able to do it because I do not have those capabilities. I was born without that type of energy. But this whole section kind of goes to where you fight back, and then you get to truly witness the real ending of the game. The ending of the game, the way I see it, and the way I want to keep seeing it, so if I'm wrong and you tell me in the comments, I don't really care, is that all three characters get to repossess their memories and go through the same actions again to see if maybe they get a different circumstance. And it gives you a thought of hope that maybe this time with the information they've learned through this harrowing journey, that they will have a different outcome. And even the robots are talking about, do you think they'll have a different outcome? And it's like there's a chance. And that's all life is going through and trying your absolute best with the information you obtained through life and through your experiences to try to make the best of your circumstances. And with that, guys, I think that's the end of my Neir Automata video. And I hope you enjoyed. I hope you subscribe to my channel. And if not, that's okay. Thank you for making it this far in the video. I'll catch you on the next one.